Hey guys, Hello Bella here, and today I'm going to be showing you my solar bird bath fountain that I built, and I basically only had to pay for the solar fountain. I got that off of Amazon. So I used all recycled materials, stuff I already had, just because I didn't really want to spend a lot of money on this because I didn't know, if the birds would even come to it. But as you can see, they definitely like to come visit. I've seen, this thing be completely covered up with birds, especially today because it's like 95 degrees in Alabama. One thing that I did was I placed it next to the feeder so that they would, get familiarized with it since they're coming to the feeder anyways. And pro tip, put it somewhere where you can watch. So this is my window in the kitchen, and so I'm always able to kind of look out and see if they're in it or if they're at any of the feeders. So you can use pretty much anything that will hold water and that is safe for birds. This is an old garbage can that I got from the thrift store, and I just flipped the lid upside down and I made sure that it would hold water. I had to put some Flex Seal on it, but it was fine after that. And then inside of the fountain, I've got some river rocks. These were left over from a project that I had done in my yard, and I really didn't put a lot of them in there. You can see it's a pretty thin layer. There's the bottom right there, and so I keep it pretty thin. And then in terms of other rocks, you want to try to get some kind of flat surface if you can. And so for that, I went to a creek by my house and I got these kind of flat rocks, and then I just kind of set them on top of the river rocks. The reason you want the flat rocks is so the birds can land on the rocks and kind of see the depth of the water. And the flat rocks are also good for bugs, so bugs will also want to come to the water. So if you've got these flat ones, they can land and get a drink, and then they won't get stuck in the water and they can fly away. I've had a lot of bees as visitors here, and I've also had like some wasps and things. But overall, I don't have a lot of issues with bugs getting in this. Typically, I'll have to refill the water every 2 to 3 days. One thing you'll notice about this fountain is that the water is not going up very high, and I did this deliberately because when I put the sprinkle setting on in the fountain, the water gets all outside of the container and it goes in the yard, and basically if the wind blows, it gets everywhere, and I wind up having to refill the water every day instead of every 2 to 3 days. So that's why I do it on the lower setting. I do think if I got a bigger bird bath, I might consider doing the fountain style, but the way that this is right now, it's really not big enough to do that. And one thing that it comes with in the box is basically some little sticks that you can use to keep it centered if you want to keep it centered. I kind of just let it float around. I'm not really too worried about it. It moves and it does its own thing, and it's kind of cool to see it go around. And earlier the birds were just landing on it. One thing you'll want to know is that this does not work unless it's in complete sun. I tried to put it just barely in the shade a little bit, and it didn't work at all. So you want to be able to put it in a place with full sunlight if you're going to be using this one. The solar pump that I got is from Amazon, and I'll pop it up on the screen so you can see which one it was. I think it's around 10 bucks right now. You can see one of the bugs here is he's coming to get him a drink of water. That's so cool that you can see that detail on the camera. I don't usually catch them coming to visit, but anyways, the one that I have, really inexpensive, and since I only paid $12 for that and paid basically nothing for the rest, this is a really cool DIY project. I'll admit I did not think that it was gonna work. I thought the birds, I don't know, I just thought they wouldn't be into it, but as it turns out, if you put a feeder up and you put water out, they will come to it. And I think it's really, it's been a couple of weeks since I've had this, about 5 weeks, and it's done well every single day. I haven't really had any issues with it. Usually when it starts getting dark and starts getting a little cloudy, it will not work. So, I mean, that's just something that you kind of have to factor in. But it keeps the water circulating and keeps it pretty clean. In terms of cleaning it, I usually clean it out. I'll clean it like completely about every 2 weeks, and then I'll do like a clean every 3 days where I dump a bunch of water in it, and then all of that old dirt and debris that's on the surface usually will spill out of the sides. So I did want to measure it for you guys. So this is right at 15 inches in diameter. So if you are thinking about getting one and you wanted to see like, okay, how big is this if it's in the middle, this is a 15-inch example. Another thing to kind of remember is to clean whatever rocks that you're going to use beforehand. Just wash them off really good in the sink several times. With these river rocks in particular, like if you buy them from Lowe's or Home Depot, they will be really dusty, so I had to wash them pretty thoroughly, and I'm still getting dust off of them, but I did a pretty good job of getting most of it. I wouldn't buy rocks from like Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that. I would go for the bigger the better when it comes to the rocks, because you know, you don't want to have a bunch of tiny little things in there. It looks more natural to me too, like it looks more like something that you would see in a creek or you know, in kind of a natural body of water. And so I like the look of the river rocks, and they actually match my creek rocks really good. So you know, if you don't have a creek or something next to you, you can still probably go to like the pet store and get some rocks there, but I don't really want to buy rocks. In this economy, I can't afford to buy rocks, so I just went and got some from the creek. Maybe you have a local park or something like that that you can liberate some rocks from. So in terms of the height, this is right at 17.5 inches off the ground, so about 1.5 feet. And you know, I think it's preferred that you have it off the ground because it's easier for bugs and other creatures that you don't want to be in there to get in there. And also I think birds prefer that from an evolutionary perspective, because predators can get them on the ground and predators, you know, can't get them as easily if they're up higher. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. There's a lot of ways you could DIY this. You do not have to use a vintage garbage can. That I got that for like $3. I'm honestly so proud of it because it was so cheap. But you can use lots of things, like you can get a pedestal from the thrift store and a giant like bowl or a planter, anything that does not have holes in it, and you can also just kind of get creative with it and do it in your own way. I think it's kind of fun because you can get into a lot of different, you know, ways to do this. You can make it really tall, you can make it really as ornate as you want to make it, and I think that the birds will appreciate it either way that you do it. I just ordered one of those Birdbath cameras, so I'm going to be putting that up soon, so I should be able to get better footage of my birds. But this is really a cool addition to my backyard. Hopefully eventually I'll be able to get a couple more of them. I've got my feeders up here, I've got hummingbirds, and I've got just all kinds of different species coming to this now. Alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed this little video of my DIY bird bath. This is an easy project that anyone can do. It's something that is relatively inexpensive, and it will bring you a lot of joy when the birds start showing up. So I'm gonna go back in the house because it is so hot outside, and I feel like the birds will probably want to use this once I'm not over here talking in front of it. I see one on the fence right now. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.